Wait a minute. It's still September, and I'm going to drive to Texas despite the heat. Stopping for gas along the way, I found myself beside the Cactus Restaurant. Gas is cheap here in Arizona, at least compared with California. At Van Horn in Texas, you turn off I-10, traverses America, and you head south on State Route 9 to go to Marfa. It's 74 miles. Well, Marfa is in the very dry Big Bend country of Texas. And it began life in 1883 as a railroad stop for the Galveston to San Antonio Railroad. The railroad, strangely enough, still is going. It's the Union Pacific, and today, and it is mostly freight. I guess it's almost entirely freight. I doubt if there are any passengers, but one of these typical trains that kind of lasts forever and has an engine at the back. And the town got its name from a character in Dostoevsky's The Brothers Karamazov, because the wife of the head of the railroad was reading the book at the time. It's very small, population 2,600, and what it's best known for, especially among cinema buffs, is that in 1953 they shot the movie Giant here, in which Elizabeth Taylor, Rock Hudson and James Dean starred. And there have been several movies actually that have been done there since, but I'll get more into that when I get into town. This is the entrance to town. There's a Holiday Inn there, in case you need to stay. Looks pretty much like the entrance to any other small town. There's a Subway up there. I walked into the Dairy Queen to get an ice cream, and there was a customer with a gun on his belt. Texas is not a place where you mess with anybody. Carmen's Cafe says, "Tie your horse and come in." It's Sunday and unfortunately everything's closed. I'll try the Gallery Urbane. No, unfortunately nobody there. Looking up the main street back out of town. Oh, there's something to behold. I'll get a bit nearer. The office of the Big Bend Sentinel is closed, as you might expect. And I guess I'm here a week too early because the Marfa Lights Festival and the Balloon Bash, the Big Bend Balloon Bash, are both scheduled for next week.
What are you taking a picture of?
I'm sorry, say that again?
What are you taking a picture of?
I just take my video camera everywhere. I actually do a little cable show. It's on my website. So this is Mary, who operates this gallery here in Marfa. How did you end up here in Marfa?
Julie Speed, an artist I've represented on the East Coast for many years, moved here full-time 3 years ago.
You're an ex-New Yorker, right?
And, yep, but the last 19 years I was mostly on Martha's Vineyard.
Right, I see.
And Julie moved here and she kept saying, you gotta come out, you gotta come out. And 2 winters ago she called and said, there's a gallery available, you gotta come out. And I came out and I fell in love with Marfa and went back home and finished up the summer season and just moved the gallery here.
Didn't you find it a bit suburban and rural and kind of provincial compared with the big city life?
Very much. But it's also just like Martha's Vineyard in that it's isolated, it's hard to get to. Once you get there, you can't get anything. But there's some pretty interesting people, things, art. It's a good place.
A lot of artists are drawn here, I guess, because of the associations like Judd and so on.
Yeah, and it's very self-selecting. People either love it or hate it.
What brought the Judd thing here in the first place?
I'm not certain if he served in the military, but he knew about this decommissioned military base.
Right.
And he originally wanted to set up his whole spread in Baja, but the Mexican government wouldn't allow foreigners to own beachfront property.
Yeah, right.
And that's how he ended up here.
They'd be hard to deal with anyway. So artists who think they might decide to live in Marfa.
Don't.
Okay, we'll end on that if you like. Do you have anything else you want to say?
We like it just the way it is.
Yeah.
York or wherever.
Okay, Mary, well, thank you for that. This is the famous hotel where the stars stayed when they came to make the movies. It's about the only place to stay, actually, because that other place you saw earlier on is just a shell of a building. The Hotel Paisano. It also has an art gallery. Patio at the back, and a nice, also has, I think, what is supposedly the best restaurant in town. The guy that designed this hotel, Henry Trost, one of the most outstanding Texas architects of his time. Nice doormat. Very tranquil hotel. Of course it is Sunday. In the lobby they have a little video that shows the movie. There's also a life-size cutout of James Dean. Interesting collage here in the lobby. And you can always buy a mug to take away at Bassano Dry Goods. Fine looking town hall though, and a little movie theatre opposite. The main street of Marfa. The impressive architecture, or rather sculpture, of Donald Judd, the sculptor artist, is in this building, but unfortunately it's closed. It's Sunday. Just as I was leaving town, I spotted this. Looks like an interesting place to stay. I didn't inquire about the rates. The other thing that Marfa's most famous for is some mysterious lights that appear in the hills. And about a mile east of town is this viewing platform looking towards the, I think, Chinati Mountains over there. The Marfa Mystery Lights are visible as many lights between the pass and the mountains, and they've never been explained. They appear in various colors as they move about, split apart, melt together, and disappear and reappear. Coincidentally, 1883 was, I don't know if I'm in focus, 1883 is when they were first spotted by a guy who, strangely enough, just when the railroad was founded, a guy who thought they were Indian campfires. The Indians thought they were stars dropping from God. People have called them UFOs, people have said swamp gas, all kinds of mysterious explanations. And apparently there's a strange phenomenon, the combination of different air temperatures coming together, which enable lights to be seen at a distance but not close up. Anyway, they're famous enough and common enough that they built this whole structure that people can come here and study the lights in the distance. There's even telescopes. There's a thing on the wall about the desert and all the strange animals therein. Animals, birds, beasts, various desert creatures. It says, don't be deceived by the apparent emptiness, because most animal life knows better than to come out in the middle of the day when it's hot They come out at night when nobody's around. There's a mountain lion occasionally seen. This shows you where the desert is. Southern part of New Mexico, the western part of Texas, and extending right into Mexico. The Chihuahuan Desert. Of course, desert or not, so much of Texas looks like this, belonging to wealthy ranchers who do nothing but keep cattle on them and get large amounts of money from the federal government.